What we can see is that the issue of defossilizing our economies has just kept on accelerating. So even though there's been an economic downturn, and with that downturn there has been a lowering of greenhouse gas emissions, nevertheless the governments are tightening up their demands for lower emissions. And what this means is the biggest opportunity for the sector is for energy efficiency, for low carbon energy production, and for associated technologies. So whether you're looking at the transport sector, the energy, the utility sector itself, or the building environment, the building sector, each of these provides a very real opportunity for innovation into this. This is the biggest challenge the private sector has seen since the Industrial Revolution. All of our energy has been produced by fossil fuels virtually, and now we're saying that within 40 years none of it will be produced by fossil fuels. So there's the challenge. There are related challenges. How would you produce enough clean water for a population on the planet of 9 billion people when we are already challenged to do that? So we need to find better ways of desalinating water. How do we produce more food? We need to find much more efficient ways to produce food. And then finally, of course, energy. How do we produce energy so that energy poverty disappears, but also so that we're fossil fuel free? Governments have to tackle these issues. First of all, they make commitments. So the British government, 80% reduction in emissions by mid-century, and now they've just announced we will go to 50% reduction by 2025. So there's their target. In order to achieve the target, the government then has to introduce obligations. For example, how do I produce electricity on the grid? British government, zero fossil fuel electricity on the grid by mid-century. That's got to be written through to the utilities. In terms of the SMEs, and this is where the massive new green opportunity lies, governments have to provide incentives along the way. And the incentives, which are classical, are to put a price on carbon dioxide. Now, precisely because we've seen a downturn in the global economy, and especially in Europe, it means that prices of carbon dioxide in Europe have just not hit the level that would drive new technologies through. And this means that governments need to focus much more on regulatory behavior that will drive these new discoveries, these new opportunities that are driven through largely by SMEs into the marketplace. What we have, for example, in the motor car industry is a lot of interest in going into alternatives to gasoline, to petrol, to diesel. And at the same time, the opportunity for SMEs is enormous, because if you go into electric vehicles, there's no need to produce a combustion engine, which is a rather complicated device. You can rather skip into this. Electric engines are much, much simpler devices. And one of the great SMEs in Britain is Gordon Murray Designs, and they've not only produced a car that is very lightweight. The outer panels are all made from plastic bottles, reusing plastic bottles. Gordon Murray himself designed Formula One cars. His car is stunningly beautiful, so it's very competitive. But he has looked at the whole manufacturing train for the car, not only to lower carbon usage, but also, and critically, to lower costs. His manufacturing train is so much simpler than any used by the large companies. But that's because SMEs have to think freshly in order to challenge. Governments need to understand that this is where the real opportunity lies, and my belief is that the economic recovery in Europe depends on governments getting this message, because I think the industry is poised to take advantage of it.